Hey, friends, I'm your host, Dr. Elizabeth Ssemanda, the intuitive psychiatrist, and you are listening to Stepping into Soul Power. Friends, what if infertility wasn't just a medical challenge, but an opportunity to get in deeper, to pursue something about yourself that has been asking to be explored? What if it's a spiritual initiation? Our next guest is a mom. She's an author. She's an energy healer, intuitive counselor, and fertility adoption coach at One Way or a Mother. For more than 2 decades, she's helped hundreds of women go through this sacred process of navigating their own fertility and adoption journey. Jenilyn Gilbert, welcome to the show.
My gosh, thank you. What a nice intro. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we are so glad to have you here. I I don't know anyone else that has your unique skill sets. And you have such a unique blend of psychology, spirituality, energy work. What led you down this path? How'd you get here?
I think some of it was in the cards for me. Was adoption kind of found me. There was a
Mhm.
position after graduate school, and someone was leaving a position, and I entered it, and that was the beginning of learning in adoption. And it's one of those things where you start to take this path, and somebody had recommended I was interested. I had just gone through my yoga training, and they said, "Oh, there's someone looking for some fertility yoga teachers." So I got a job there. It's kind of like things have, just kept flowing in a certain direction towards me or for me. And so that's how it began. And I've always been student of anything interesting. So, oh, somebody's offering a Reiki class, I'm in. I want to learn about this special interest, I'm diving in over there. So and then it became a personal journey, which I think we'll get to um, today. And so it's also not just professional, but a personal journey as well in the end.
Maybe let's go there. Tell us
Sure.
about that journey. What was your path?
Well, I met my husband late in life. I was 38. We were dancing, swing dancing, and um, we were just having so much fun and he asked me for a date and I said yes. And I already knew, okay, I'm 38. This might not be an easy path if I want to have children. And I did. And on our second date, I asked him if he was interested in children. And I know that was like a big no no in that time when, my friends and I were dating. You're not supposed to do that. Like maybe the fourth date or there was some, rule around that. And I broke it because I thought, I'm 38. I better get to this right away. And he said, I'd like a family too. And I said, well, do you have any interest in adoption? Because that might be what we need to do. And sure enough, that is in the end how we became parents was through domestic adoption. But we went through, fertility treatments, egg donation. We had a failed adoption, which means we were planning on adopting, they were actually a boy and girl twins. Um, and the birth father at the last minute came in and said, he lived in Michigan. I would like to see the children every weekend. So that's a custody thing. This isn't adoption. So I said, thank God I had a background in adoption because I knew the answer was, I'm sorry, we can't do that. We can't commit to that level of openness. So we've also experienced that kind of loss of adoption too along the way. And, but now we have our 11-year-old and we adopted her at a couple of days old. And I'm so glad I asked that question of him, and he wasn't really super excited when he first heard adoption. So that's a whole other thing that can be challenging sometimes. One partner in the relationship is not as excited as the
Mm,
other
mhm.
around anything. Could be surrogacy, egg donation, adoption. And he said, I just don't know anybody that in his family or his friend circle that had been adopted or had adopted. So it was very different for him. And I said, "Well, you've got somebody who worked for 10 years at an adoption agency. I'll help you through with that." So that's kind of our journey to our daughter.
Wow. It is just so many ups and downs, and I'm sure many lessons. As you were navigating that process, what did you find to be particularly helpful to you?
I think there were a lot of things. One of the things I did was I created a welcome mat in the bedroom that was going to be the nursery. So, and I'm talking almost metaphorically. I didn't actually have a welcome, but you could do that. I started preparing the room, and I would go in that room and I tried to connect with her or him. I had a feeling it was a her. And I would journal, I would sing and chant. And in that room, there was just all this delicious energy. And I was saying, whoever's supposed to come through to me, this is going to be your bedroom. I want you to see it. I want us to start to interact now. And so that's a spiritual practice I teach my clients as well in preparing. And maybe it's a guest bedroom or it's somebody's office. It doesn't have to be like all made up and ready for a baby. Put a stuffy in there. It doesn't have to, be all painted and fancy, but start to, as you have talked about intention, set the intention that this is the room where you two are going to really bond and develop the beginnings of your relationship. So start it before you're in physical form with each other, if that makes sense.
That is really powerful. So setting the intention, and then it sounds like taking aligned action really, because when I think about kids, I think about my own journey too. It definitely takes a community to raise a child. How did you get about navigating that conversation with friends, with other family members? Like,
Around
what did
adoption, like, we're gonna be
Mhm.
adopting this child and
Yes.
kind of what did that look like?
Yes.
Yeah, it was, I think, not as surprising on my side of the family because we actually have cousins who came to our family through adoption. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like, for my side, it's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, like Aunt Natalie did. It'll be similar." For Jeff's side, my husband's side, this was more of a type of education process, to
Mm.
explain how this was going to go. But honestly, most importantly, how can you guys support us?
Yes.
How can you best support us? And we made a little error and then corrected that error. So we had included everybody in our excitement about these boy and girl twins. And we got the 2 car seats, and the whole family was excited and ready. And then we had to say, "No, this isn't the right match for us. We can't uphold that promise to see the birth father every weekend. I'm sorry. We need to back out and find maybe a family in Michigan, I don't know, that could do that more easily." And I remember the tears of especially my mother-in-law, my I call my bonus mom, my stepmom, and
Mhm.
my mother. I 3 mom figures, and everybody's crying, and my husband and I had to support them, and we said, "Aha, next time." We don't tell them until surrenders are signed. So when our daughter came to us, we did wait until we had a more official stance that this is most likely, it's not 100%. There's a little bit more of a process to go, but it's pretty clear that this is gonna become our child when the birth mom signs. And when that happened, that's when we called. And everybody was in a celebratory, everyone was celebrating. But we learned, like, keep it close until we know a little bit more. Kind of like if you're pregnant, you might not say it the first time you find out you're pregnant. You kind of keep it maybe between your partner and yourself or a few close friends.
Yes.
It's a similar thing. Keep it close and then you can expand and have, and then everybody was coming to visit and can I hold and, can I bring you things and all that wonderful fun support.
That's beautiful. So being very mindful about who you tell, when you
Yes,
tell, making it your decision.
exactly.
And it seems like there are losses that might be a part of the fertility journey. And I wonder if you could speak to that. Specifically, what are the lessons with loss?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, this is a roller coaster that people are entering on. There are ups and downs. And I often was trying as the coach to help women to create more of a merry-go-round experience. It goes up and down a little bit, but it's pretty neutral.
Mm,
And um, not get too excited if you're picked in adoption or you got a positive pregnancy. Let's just say, look at what happened. Where might this go? Instead of, oh my gosh, it's time for fireworks. Not yet. Like, let's take this easy. So that's one thing I think that helps is kind of creating some sort of neutrality. And the same thing, not getting so attached to the negative. Oh no, another failed IVF or a miscarriage or no one's picking us. It's taking forever for someone to pick me in adoption. That you just kind of taking it day by day. So that's one thought I have. But the other thought that I have had along the way in helping so many women, and I don't know, I've been really lucky. I have like the most incredible clients. I just have so much, we have fun together. We're laughing, we're working together. Sometimes, honestly, for years, this isn't like that. It's not usually something that happens right away. I am holding someone's hand for quite a while often. And so in that, I've thought about the fact that I think that the children that are coming through now are really powerful emissaries of light. They are here to do some big work. And we have to be prepared for those big souls that are coming through. I've got one for sure. Very
mhm.
strong willed. I know what I'm doing. Get out of my way. And I feel I had to kind of go through boot camp. Those ups and downs prepared me personally, and I am hoping I'm preparing my clients for
Mm.
some of these really power changers that are coming through. So we have to be prepared, and sometimes it's not a really easy path because parenting isn't going to be really easy, but that's because they're here to kick some butt.
I love that the way that you framed that it's a little bit of boot camp, right? Like you get a little bit of a taste up front, like, hey, parenting isn't easy. So the process prior to isn't easy. So it helps you kind of build up your resilience.
That's it.
Most therapists out there, right? are not into energy work. They're not really talking about, spirituality. I mean, so you use unique skill. You're talking about intuition, and so tell me about, like, the role that these things play in a woman's fertility journey. Like, why do you use them, and, like, how are they actually helpful?
Okay. So, I've got a Reiki background. So I'm often sending energy while I'm working with the client. I have a little teddy bear I use as like a model body. And I'm putting, if somebody's saying I have a headache, I'm sending them while we're coaching. And if they're in person, I've got right behind me a massage table. They can lay down. I can actually do hands on, or on the floor. I have one of those Thai massage mats so they can lie down comfortably on the floor. So that's one way I'm working. I'm also incorporating some of the work that Suzanne Giesemann has worked with mediumship. That kind of was my hobby during the pandemic. Was I did a deep dive into learning mediumship, and I thought I was gonna go that way. I had already been doing fertility and adoption coaching, and I thought I was going on a new path, but I was pulled back in. People were still finding me. I had shut down my website, and I was like, "I'm trying something different. I'm doing something new." But these people found me right at the last minute, and they snuck under the wire. And of
Yeah.
course, I couldn't refuse. So I'm working with these women while I'm learning mediumship. And I started to incorporate some of the things I was learning from Suzanne, like the Bless Me method, if you're familiar with that. So I would do that method before I would get on the Zoom call or in person appointment. And what I was doing was I was asking, are there ancestors? Are there spiritual guides? Are there archangels? Is there a guardian angel? Anybody up there and out there that is here to support this woman in motherhood, please step forward and use my voice box. Use my heart. Help me communicate to them that they're not alone and how I can best help them in healing this deep sorrow that they're experiencing. And the stories that have come through, the support, both of us, me just sitting there holding the space and the person receiving and their ancestors' support is like mind blowing. I wish I could do this every minute of my day because it is so powerful. Putting that into my coaching practice that I already had has just somehow amplified the healing process that much more. Um,
Can you give us a story? Paint a
sure.
picture of something that really spoke to you using that method. Just
Okay. I wrote it down and I'm not going to read it, but I want to have notes because as a woman, I'm going through menopause. So I get a little brain fog and I want to tell this story just the right way because it is so powerful. So, what I normally do is I would do the bless me before, right? As I just said. And then I pick a card, some sort of angel or goddess card. And that card often guides us in the session. And so, with this one particular story I'm thinking about is, I also do a little bit. Have you heard of IFS, Internal Family Systems, Richard Schwartz
I'm a
work?
Yes, I'm a psychiatrist. You know I love the therapy. So and he's doing so many things I can say about IFS, but huge fan of IFS. Think it's great, 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 great.
I do too. I think it's powerful for me as a receiver and as one giving it. And
Yeah,
so I do it's a little spin on that. It is not 100% the way he has created it. I've
yeah.
never been the greatest rule follower myself. So you know, breaking traditions and doing it my own way. And, that's my creative expression in this world. That's my way of being an artist, if you will. I take a
Mm,
little bit of this and that and then make something. And
mm,
so in this, I'm using IFS, these parts of it where we're closing our eyes. I'm having them go inside and find a part of their body that might be kind of tingling or in pain or speaking to them, right? Well, in this case, this woman said she felt like a headband pressure right around here, just around the circumference of her head. And what I have them do is pull it out, right? So I said, okay, let's look at this. What is that you're seeing? And she said that it was actually tightness around the whole head. All of a sudden, she sees all her ancestors. Now, her background is Polish. And so she says to me, I'm seeing everybody in like traditional Polish costumes and they're singing and they're dancing. And she said there's like 100 of them. It's like an army of my ancestors with me. And they're celebrating her. And they want her to know she is not alone. And she's not feeling alone. Like tears are coming down her face because she sees all of them. So what's kind of cool is I'm not the one seeing this. She is. This is a collaboration. I am not the guru. I am not the one seeing the vision. Sometimes I am. Sometimes they are. Sometimes we're sharing with each other. It's collaborative. It's very feminine. We are making a story together. I am not there's no hierarchy here. And so as she's sharing her vision with me, I'm feeling it too. I'm getting a sense. And weirdly, I also happen to be Polish, so that's just fun, so we share this little thing in common. And so she said, all of a sudden, she says that I'm feeling this activation. She said, something is occurring and there's a lot of excitement around it. And she said they are so grateful that they start handing her pink and yellow roses. And she said, now this is really meaningful to her and I asked her I should have said this up front for permission to share this. Um, because we both were like, what just happened here? And she said, "Please share this story to help other women, please." And the story about the rose is interesting because there's one grandmother who loved roses and she's on the other side. And there's a niece in this lifetime who she has actually helped. Um, how shall I say that part of the story I want to keep more private and sacred, but let's just say she lived with her for a little bit. So she's been highly involved in this niece's life and her middle name is Rose. So she's getting these connections, right? And I also ask, what's the message here? And the message she got was put your family first and all will work out. And, she had her partner, her life partner, her husband. And so all of a sudden, I guess they break out into a Polish lullaby. Well, forget it. She just lost it at this point, right? She's so touched. She knows this lullaby. And um we this is kind of the ending of our session, but I have a little more research to do after I get off the phone with her. So, I bless her with a golden light. I thank all these people for coming forward. You know, this woman has been on her journey for like 2 years and we were actually doing something new. I had never worked with anybody on a foster care to adoption journey. I have worked with people around domestic adoption, but I had never this was new and I was upfront. I said, "We're doing this together." But I thought it was gonna be a lot faster than 2 years, to tell you the truth. I just thought, "Well, there's a lot of kids in the system. She's probably gonna get a baby tomorrow." Well, that is not what happened. This was 2 years, and she was in deep helplessness, hopelessness around this,
yeah.
definitely felt alone. Then here's this army of ancestors that come forward saying, you are not alone. In fact, we're celebrating with you. So, what I do after the phone call is I look up what It's a traditional looking outfit, Polish tradition. They have wreaths of roses around their heads, like a headband. And, these red and white, beautiful colors in their dress. And I send her, my client, the picture. Look at this. Is this what you were describing? Because this is what I found online. Can you believe this? And anyway, that just kind of blew my mind. And she got a call a week later, and she is parenting that little girl now.
Wow. Oh, it's so powerful because
I
I think
know.
you said so many things, but I think you're right that many times our fertility journey can feel so lonely because we don't talk about the lot. Like it can be very lonely when you have a loss, whether it's a miscarriage or many things can happen, right?
So
Or an adoption doesn't go through. We don't talk about it, or we may not have the support. And sometimes we think only support is just the physical people around us, but there are people like our ancestors are yes, could be cheering us on. And many times we don't think about that. We forego that.
that's right. We're just looking what's in front of us, what's something physical that we can touch or somebody. And there's just like I feel them right now. I get goosebumps when kind of I'm being greeted by some spirits. And
Yes.
so they're with us right now because we're talking about all of this powerful information. And yeah, we are so not alone. It might freak out an introvert a little bit. You're like, hey, there's a lot of people here. I'm not sure I like this many people. Oh,
Yes. Yes. And so I wonder if you also talked about a couple different feelings and you had mentioned I just think about the word hopeless, you know,
yes.
or people who are feeling broken by this journey because it can be a really tough society has a lot of things to say about women and kids, when to have kids, when not to have kids, or why don't you have kids? People got opinions.
Do.
Yeah, and so that feeling of hopelessness, I've heard that over and over again. Is there a practice, something that they could do that they could take with them today, like if they are in that space?
Yeah. One of the things that and this is around people that are actually here, physical
Yes.
humans. I work with them too. And what I often suggest is that you find 3 to 5 people in your life and you kind of have a sit down with them and say, "Listen, I'm going through this really hard thing right now with, you know, my body, and I could use your support. And here's how I need you to support me."
Mm,
And get really specific as far as maybe you're somebody who really loves getting cards or postcards in the mail of like, I'm with you, I see you, or you could just email a card. Um, are you the kind of person that when you're feeling really down, you need to be alone? Or are you somebody who's like, can you please come over and just sit with me and watch a movie, just get some pizza and just, be with me? How do you grieve? Like, be
mm,
aware of how do you normally take care of yourself when the hard stuff happens? Because this is just hard. There are gonna be days that it's just hard. And so let's prepare for it up front. Find those people, have them ready, and tell them if you see a text come through, I want you to think 911. I need you now, right away. And this might be a couple years of I need you now. But that's what I love about having 3 to 5 people. Is somebody maybe is in the middle of giving a presentation or podcast interview, right? They're not available. but friend too might be able to, help in that moment. And I don't necessarily think that if the person does have a life partner, that that is part of the circle. They're usually already involved and they're going through their own feelings and their own things. These are people outside of your immediate experience. So, um, contacting them, letting them know, and then actually following through when you are feeling in that funk to reach out.
Yeah. And that's the tough thing is sometimes asking for help is hard.
And that's what we talk about, how important it is because parenting is so hard, right? And you're going to need help with that too. This is great practice. Let's start building those skills now because you're going to need it maybe even more with the baby or with children in the future. So we talk about building those muscles up front. And we also do a little IFS with that too. Where's that message living in the body? How old is that message? How can we help heal that message? I got to do this myself. I got
Mm,
to do this all alone. Nobody understands. Help them understand, right?
yeah.
And if you don't have anybody, it is possible. You could have maybe people that are great at other parts of your life, but not so great at supporting you with your fertility journey. Then, I've supplied my clients with what I call a mentoring mama.
Oh,
And that's someone who's been through something similar. So let's say, for example, I've had some pretty young clients have to explore egg donation. That's a hard thing to kind of come to grips with, like they're like, "Me? I'm like in my 30s. How could why do I need an egg donation?" Well, maybe talking to another 30 something would be helpful for that woman.
yeah.
And this is such a specific thing going on in their life. But having one other person that they could talk to has been life changing. And so I love to connect people. I think that is just so healing, both on the other side and on this side.
I love that. I love it. And you just brought a new concept, just a mentoring mama. And I think that is so important that you have someone in your corner who's been through it. Because I mean, there is no teacher like living that experience
That's right.
and talking to someone that's lived it. Uh,
And they know the acronyms because, that can be such a pain in the neck. You have to explain, what does IVF mean? I'm like,
yeah.
ah, I don't wanna have to explain this. And you know what? Somebody once said to me, one of my clients, I thought it was so interesting. She said, "All my friends were around me when I had a miscarriage. They knew what to do with that. They did not know how to help me through the failed IVF." But she said it felt just as painful. But you know who else would know that? Someone who had a failed IVF.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to the importance of connection throughout the journey, just how powerful that is. Um,
And usually women.
yep, yep, yep. And I can imagine how this journey would transform if you are in a relationship, how that, like how going through this journey also takes that relationship through a journey.
It's true. And you know what's cute? I've had some of my clients, in this case, husbands, say, when is that support group? Like, how many days away is that?" Because they saw how helpful it was when the woman was getting support. She was able to be, I don't know, a happier person.
Yes.
She had the other females around her, then she could keep working or she could, maybe she has other children at home. I've worked with people who already had children, they want more children. Most of the time, this is their first child they're trying for. That's such a struggle to get it kicked off and
Yeah.
going. And then once it does, often don't have trouble for that second one. That's not always the case, but it it is a lot of the times. So I help a lot of women in that first pregnancy or that first adoption. But yeah, the marriage can take a toll. It can be really hard in
Yeah.
any kind of partnership. Um, yeah, that can be a struggle. But honestly, when I felt that when the women had each other or they had me as a support for somebody in their life as another female, their marriage was better.
And the support matters. It really, really, really does. Like, and as a psychiatrist, a lot of times I work with a lot of women in pregnancy or postpartum. And usually that's the first thing that I recommend, like, "Hey, we have a talk, like, that's what needs to we gotta really think about this. What does your network look like? What does your community look like? And where can
Yes,
you get support?"
that's exactly it. It's so healing.
And I know that women are going to want to connect with you. Can you tell us, how can we connect with you?
Well, right now I'm on LinkedIn. So if you go to Jenilyn Gilbert LCSW, that should get you to my contact information is listed on there. It's a way that you can reach me. Uh, but
Okay.
that's the easiest way.
All right, so check her out on LinkedIn, Jenny Lynn Gilbert. Thank you so much for being on the show. You are just filled with grace, love. It's such a beautiful thing to see someone with just so many great skills that can help women navigate a really difficult time in their lives.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have met you. I can't believe the work you do.
Many blessings to you. Thank you for being on the show. If you haven't heard it yet today, I appreciate you. The soul in me honors the soul in you. If you'd like to see more episodes like this, please subscribe or click here. And friends, if this spoke to you, leave a comment below. We would love to hear from you.